Welcome to our Park City Market Talk webinar for November 2021. I'm Ron Wilstein, a broker at Keller Williams Luxury Properties here in Park City, Utah, and we've got a lot to cover today. I want to talk about the opening of the Park City Mountain Resort. It was originally scheduled for November 19th, which is just next week. Unfortunately, it's being postponed due to lack of snow. That, of course, may change quickly, actually, and they are making snow, but we're not going to be open November 19th. Deer Valley is scheduled to open December 4th, and we're optimistic that both resorts will be opened at that time. Woodward Park City, if you're familiar with the resort, is open year-round, but of course for their outdoor sports, skiing, snowboarding, etc., that is not open yet either as well. But the indoor activities are there, and so you can definitely check those out. Originally, I was planning to cover the resort protocols for COVID-19, but we've got a lot to cover with market statistics and our roundtable discussion, very important stuff. So let me just direct you to the appropriate places online, Park City's site, BuyParkCity.com, or this path to DeerValley.com for the operational procedures for COVID. But let's take a moment to look at the Park City site real quick. Here we're on ParkCityMountain.com. You can see this box to the upper right. It says opening day update. So you can go there anytime and find out when the resort does plan to open, how much snowmaking has been taking place, etc., etc. But for the protocol, you go up to the top bar, the black bar, to learn more. And you click on that, and that would take you to this page. And what's important to see here is what you need to know before you go. And so we'll see how you access the resort. Good news is you do not need a reservation as you did last season to go skiing or riding. And so you just use your pass, especially if you have a season pass. It goes into procedures for face covering, primarily indoor settings is where they want it. But there's other detail here, so definitely check that out before you go. Let's take a look at the Park City real estate market. Over the past 12 months, we've seen a record 2,256 sales. This is homes, condominiums, and vacant land. This is all real estate brokerages combined, and that is up 475 sales, or 27%. Broken down by homes, condos, and lots, we see the silver bars represent the 12-month period of November 2020 through October 2021. The red bars represents the 12 months before that. So we have a year-to-year comparison here. With homes, 3% increase from 721 to 745. Frankly, we're running out of homes to sell, and that's part of the reason for a modest increase. Frankly, we're running out of homes to sell, so that accounts for the modest increase. We turn to condominiums, we see a 42% increase, with sales climbing from 827 the year before to this past year, 1,172. And then the vacant land market has increased as homes have limited inventory, and we see a jump of 45% in the number of lots sold from 233 to 339. Broken down further, we're looking at homes here, and I've broken it into Park City and the Snyderville Basin. The number of homes in Park City down 7% from 261 to 243. Again, that is because of a lack of inventory year over year. But where there is inventory, it's a 9% increase up to 502 in the Snyderville Basin from 460. Condominiums, a 44% increase in Park City from 380 to 547, and a 40% increase in the Snyderville Basin from 447 to 625. So condos are hot, a lot of them selling whatever's out there available. Vacant land in the Park City limits, we don't have much, but it rose by statistically 16%, a 6 sale increase from 38 to 44. In the Snyderville Basin, where we have more product available, we saw a 51% increase up to 295 sales from the previous 195, so 100 more sales. And so collectively, when we look at these graphs, what's happening? It's got a big green arrow pointing up. It's going up really in every category. If it's available to be sold, and unless it's priced in a crazy, crazy way, properties are selling. So let's look at prices, and we'll begin by looking at home medium sold prices. And in the Park City limits, the year-over-year appreciation is 19%, with the new medium price for homes at $2,962,500, previously at $2,482,500. So 19% increase there. In the Snyderville Basin, 31%, climbing from $1,481,000 to $1,940,875. So that is a really healthy increase. Condominiums up 35% in the city limits, from $925,000 as a median price to $1,250,000. And in the Snyderville Basin, a decrease by 9% from $690,000 to $627,000. Now, this doesn't represent a decline in values overall for the Snyderville Basin. It really is the result of lower priced properties to be purchased, and therefore that statistic of the median price naturally has to go down. When we look out at the land prices, again, there's not that much available in the city limits. We saw a 3% increase from $1,355,000 to $1,004,000 and change, but a 46% increase in land price in the Snyderville Basin, where there is more land available, sometimes larger parcels, climbing from a previous median price of $530,000 all the way up to $775,000. So again, we look at the graphs. Our conclusion is prices going up, 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 and the prices rose by as much as 46% over previous year prices. We always look at time on the market because it also sheds a light on how interested buyers are at purchasing properties. This is looking back 6 months, not a year, where the average days on the market used to be 71 days. Now it's 44 days. So fast market, buyers on the sideline, waiting to purchase. And that's why we're going to have a roundtable discussion and get into the facts. It's been a little while since we've had a roundtable discussion, but we're going to look at how Park City's market is ever changing. So bringing the team together, Jeremy Wilstein, Dean DeLeon, and yours truly. Let's get right into it. Hey, Jeremy. Hey, Dean. How are you doing?
Hey, Ron. Doing well. You?
Excellent. Excellent.
Fantastic. Thanks for having us, Father, for this roundtable.
Let's get into our topics right away. And I wrote a couple questions. So number one, if you guys were to summarize the current real estate market in Park City, what would you say? And specifically, is it hot? Is it cooling off now? Are there a lot of properties to choose from or very few? And what are both buyers looking for today?
Yeah, thanks, Ron. That's a great question that is on everybody's mind. I think most people know that the real estate market has been extremely hot for the last 16, 18 months, especially with such a big move from the cities during this COVID pandemic to areas that have more space, more natural settings, just like Park City. So our market has definitely been very, very strong, and people are asking, hey, is it starting to cool off? Are we starting to see some slowdown in the market? And what I've seen is our market is still very robust. People are still buying. We're still seeing multiple offers. I am seeing more price reductions in our marketplace than what we saw before. I think that stems from the fact that sellers just keep pushing prices higher and higher and higher. And at some point, the buyers are just going to reflect a little bit and say, okay, that's just a bit too high for what I'm looking for. However, with exceptional properties, usually properties that are fully remodeled, so the work is completely done, they are fetching that higher price and getting a premium from buyers that would just like to move straight into the property.
Yeah, well said, Jeremy. I agree with you. I actually have been having a lot of conversations where a lot of people are asking this question, right? Because a lot of people will get the sense that the market is cooling off in Park City. But it's my opinion, and from what I see every day on a day-to-day basis, that the market is not cooling off. It is as hot as it has been. There's what is happening would be everything's been bought up at this point, right? All the inventory's been bought up. We see number of sales going up, and there's simply not as many properties coming on the market. Therefore, we're seeing less, I guess not less transactions, but less opportunities for buyers. But as soon as an exceptional property or any property comes on the market, it's my experience that there's typically multiple offers, and we're still competing to get properties for buyers.
Yep. What I've seen, and I've seen this year in and year out, but especially now, is that we have more buyers on the sidelines just waiting for the right property, the right match to come. It's not a hesitation to buy or to invest in Park City. It's when the right one comes, I'm on it right away, and they are on it right away, because we're seeing it time and time again with the sold price being significantly higher than the list price, with 0 days on the market, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. So it's interesting to see. I mean, it's great if you're a seller, and it's great if you're a buyer, if you want to be here and you get your foot in the door, or you upgrade, or whatever you're trying to do. So that's it's not cooling off. I don't see it cooling off at all. It's more strategic now. How do you buy in this marketplace? Which leads to my second question, and that is, it's a hot market. Your own property, you're making money. It's unrealized until you sell. But why are people selling their properties these days?
Yeah, I think selling your property is a personal reason to each and every seller that we have. I think some of the main topics that we can bust into, and the reasons people are selling their property, is people have experienced a lot of appreciation, and they're waiting to capitalize on it and sell their property. And maybe they're moving elsewhere. Maybe they're moving to the surrounding areas around Park City, which we are seeing more and more growth there. So people that were looking at Park City have looked to the surrounding areas because their dollar goes further, and they still enjoy a great quality of life here. Another reason people are selling their properties is they're either upgrading their properties, or maybe they're empty nesters and they're getting to smaller properties. So all the usual reasons. I can tell you why some people aren't selling their property, and that's because they're having a hard time finding a replacement property in the same area.
Yeah, well said, Jeremy. And again, my knee-jerk reaction to that question would be to say that they aren't, which is why we don't have a lot of inventory on the market. A lot of people are holding off, watching the market as it continues to climb. And we saw a lot of people, we've seen over 2,000 sales in the past year, right? Which is a big number in our market. So a lot of people that did want to sell or were thinking about selling have sold. And now, if we're projecting what's going to happen here in months and years to come, inventory is going to continue to be a problem for buyers in our market, which will project to hold the market as a hot seller's market like it is right now.
We went through the statistics, and those watching this as part of our webinar, I just went through the statistics, and obviously it shows prices have increased significantly over the past several years, and yet it hasn't slowed down buyers. And we're used to supply and demand and price resistance, and at some point buyers just don't want to buy, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So why do you think that is? What is so attractive and is driving buyers to kind of push their way through the next price point to buy and own something in Park City?
For a long time here in Park City, I would hear people talk about other mountain towns, Vail, Aspen, Mammoth, Tahoe, whatever it is, and say, wow, Park City is so much more affordable in all these places. And we're sitting here thinking, it's pretty expensive here too. However, when compared to these other premier mountain locations, which Park City definitely ranks at the highest level of that in terms of skiing quality, restaurants, nightlife, accessibility to major city being Salt Lake City, we were all scratching our heads. Probably the prices should be closer to Aspen and Vail, and I think with the buyers coming from all over the country, especially fueled by the pandemic, they've looked at all these mountain resorts, they've looked at these other destinations, and have decided on Park City, and frankly see it as pretty affordable place from some of these other locations that they are coming from. So I think each leg up in price point we get, we're just pricing closer to our neighbors over in Colorado or California and our mountain communities.
The cat's out of the bag. We started to see drastic appreciation once Vail came into town. Yes, we were still recovering at that point in time, semi from the recession, but Vail came into town. They have a huge marketing budget. I saw a Park City commercial during the Super Bowl, right? And they were pumping money into it, and cat's essentially out of the bag. Come to Park City, not just Park City, but when from the airport in Utah, you are less than an hour's drive from 8 world-class ski resorts. Right? Where do you get that? And even still, when you're in Park City, you have 2 world-class ski resorts in Park City, one of them the largest in the United States. But you are still less than an hour's drive from 8 world-class. And when I say world-class, these are truly world-class ski resorts from Park City itself. So you can venture out. You're not stuck with these 2 ski resorts, one of them being the largest in the United States, to explore. I mean, you could explore 8 other resorts, or 6 other resorts, I should say, in a very easy commute, whereas and people are starting to recognize that, whereas when you go to Colorado or California, I mean, just flying in, you're not flying in skiing the same day, you're commuting for that entire first day, and you're commuting that last day just to get to the airport, so you're factoring more travel days. And that's just from the tourism investment side of things, second home, let alone not even mentioning the primary reasons why people want to live here as a primary residence. And that's just the outdoor lifestyle. People can work from home now. It was becoming more prevalent just because of the internet. The pandemic obviously expedited that, and a lot more people are working from home. But a lot of people are planning on working from home more in the future and finding jobs where they can work from home and take advantage of the outdoor lifestyle and prioritize their lifestyle instead of going into the office from 9 to 5.
Yeah, I think that has had such a huge impact. Of course, the pandemic has impacted that, and it drove people not only to Park City, but to places of refuge like this, ski resorts and elsewhere. Hey, I started to come to Park City as a kid. When dinosaurs roamed the earth, I was roaming up here with my family, and my father and mother brought me up here. And, we moved here 33 years ago or so. Jeremy was 2, little dude. And it was a lifestyle choice then. And it was like, how do you go from LA to here? So small, it's so intimate, but the best move ever. And it's continued to be that way. And even though we've grown and we've picked up more traffic and other issues that are less desirable, particularly for people who lived here longer because they remember that, based upon where people are used to coming from, this is still optimum for lifestyle. And I remember, at the beginning of the pandemic and mask wearing and could you be outside? Well, all we could do here is be outside. It's how we live. So I think that remains the attraction. It's a lifestyle, and the pandemic became an excuse for so many people who own second homes that used it 2 weeks a year to work out the early quarantine here. And some haven't gone back home wherever home is yet. Nice place to live. So I'm sure that's the draw and continues to be. What insight would you offer to a property owner considering selling in this market?
I think somebody that's looking to sell really, again, it's based on the reason they're selling. So if they're just trying to capitalize on some appreciation and they don't necessarily have to sell to make another move, we might have a different insight and talk about pricing and maybe get a bit more aggressive in pricing because the move isn't 100% necessary. However, if somebody needs to sell their property to buy a property somewhere else in a very hot market elsewhere, then we need to have a discussion about, really being forthright in pricing their property to attract not only a buyer to the property, but in order to get it sold quickly or have a guaranteed deal so they can make their next move, which will probably be in an aggressive seller's market as well. So they need to have a guaranteed deal here in order to make the transition.
Yeah, in this market, we hear about a lot of wild prices in certain areas where a house in Prospector, for instance, I'll use that as an example, sold for $3 million, which is a wild example, right? For that area. I mean, it makes sense. It's in a good location, but that would be a new construction house or a fully remodeled house that was taken down to the studs and structurally changed to offer open spaces, more what a new construction home would offer. So there's certain things that a lot of people, when they hear that price, don't factor into, or it was in a premier location or a premier lot, it had a bigger acreage, and they hear that and automatically think, well, my house is now worth $3 million. And though you have seen a lot of appreciation, you have quite a bit of equity in your home, it's not always going to be the top priced home in a neighborhood. And it's important to consider that when selling, because going back to what you originally said when we started this roundtable discussion, Jeremy, is you are seeing a lot of people doing price reductions, and it's because of that reason. So the buyers are, everybody's educated. They're educated buyers working with experienced real estate agents here in Park City. Right. So they're going to know. I mean, obviously there is appreciation and prices are higher and you could expect the next sale to be higher. All that remains the same. It doesn't mean you just throw a number out there or a high number out to be able to get that. You do still have to do a lot of analysis in a particular area. And yes, it is inventory driven, where even if there's no competition in that area, what we like to do, which Ron has mentored us on, is doing a total market overview. And that's huge, right? So if there are other competing properties at certain price points, those are important to take into account, because people will move even if they desire a specific area. They desire to be in Park City at a price point more. So it's important to take in all factors and not just the highest priced home in the neighborhood that has sold.
Yep. Good. What's the best advice you guys could give to a serious buyer that they really need to hear in this marketplace?
You're going to have to make a sacrifice, which is typically the case in Park City. When you're purchasing in Park City, there's sacrifices to be made depending on where you're moving from. But for the most part, I mean, the price points are higher. And it's important to remember why you want to move here: the lifestyle, the mountains, the outdoor activities that are afforded to you right outside your front door. But typically speaking, with the competition and the inventory, you are making a sacrifice when purchasing. And secondly, don't be discouraged by the competition. Right? Because you see some people come in, start looking at properties, and they're moving very quickly and they don't want to compete. They don't want to submit multiple offers. That's our job to worry about that kind of thing. That's just more work on our end, in my opinion, which is perfectly fine. Obviously, this is what we do and we love doing it. But submitting offers and get creative with your offers, right? Because if we're in a multiple offer situation, sometimes just submitting their asking price isn't going to cut it. We like to ask a lot of questions of the listing agents, find out what is important to the seller, and in order to be able to give them what they want while still being something that our buyers that we're representing are happy with doing. But it is a competitive market, so don't be discouraged and expect to make some sacrifices. It sounds like a hard truth, but that is what most buyers in this market are doing in order to find success.
Yeah, great point. There probably be some sacrifices or make some adjustments on your preference of what you're looking for. There is a competitive market. Best advice would be, again, I say this almost every webinar, is to let us know what you're looking for, because don't just wait for a property to come on, contact us and say, hey, that looks interesting. Best advice, reach out to us. We just put together a deal. I just put together a deal with my dad. I was having a beer with a friend that said he got an unsolicited offer on his house, but he can't find another house. And I said, where are you looking? And he happened to be looking in the same neighborhood. that we had a listing that wasn't on the market yet. And we ended up putting this deal together. It never went on the market. He sold his house and his dreams were made true. We were just having a beer at a bar. Okay. So if you just want to call us or let us know what you're looking for, we can sometimes find these properties that don't even come to the market and take out all this competition, make it seamless, and get a home you really want. Okay. So that's my best advice, is just reach out to us. No obligation.
Thank you for watching this webinar. We hope that you found it helpful. Don't forget to bookmark BuyParkCity.com.